Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Outsider podcast. This episode is sponsored by Earth's Edge, and as we posted last week, this is a talk series that Jan McManus, the founder of Earth's Edge, hosted in Great Outdoors in store last month in October. This talk that you're about to listen to is all about staying healthy on expedition, so sleep, recovery, supplements. It's a really important talk for staying, because staying healthy both in training and on expedition is massively important, as Jam will dive into. There is a segment in this episode where Jam references some of the supplements that he takes, so you might want to watch the video portion of the episode for that, but that's the reason why we've uploaded this both as audio and video on Spotify and YouTube. So if you would like to see the products that Jam is talking about, just open up your phone and you can see them. So without further ado, let's dive into it.
Okay guys, we're going to get started. Can you see okay there? You sure? Okay. I had flashbacks from last week of blocking you, you know? Okay guys, welcome back. It's part 2 of our 4-part talk series about training for the big mountains. This one is all about recovery and resilience. Just to tell you a little bit about myself again, my name is James McManus. I also go by Jam. I'm a mountaineer, mountain guide, and I'm also the founder of Earth's Edge. If you don't know about Earth's Edge, we're 18 years old and we specialize in high altitude treks and mountaineering expeditions. And over those 18 years, we've taken nearly 10,000 people away on trips like you guys. And a lot of those I've led myself to places like Kilimanjaro and Aconcagua, Elbrus, all over the Himalayas, India. And it's taught me a huge amount about training and helping people prepare and find success in the big mountains. And then over the last 4 years, I've made 4 attempts on 8,000 meter peaks without oxygen. All unfortunately unsuccessful, but I've learned again a huge amount. I set an Irish record this spring by reaching 8,324 meters on Makalu without supplementary oxygen, and that's taught me a huge amount about training. And currently I'm preparing to go back to Makalu next spring in April and May, and then I also have a trip to Aconcagua in February and then Burunse in October next year. So I'm currently kind of trying to get the most out of my body from a training and performance perspective. And I suppose whether you're preparing for your first trek or you're thinking about doing the Camino or you're building all the way up to do like a 7,000 meter peak in the Himalayas, training principles are the same for everyone really going to the high mountains or doing anything in endurance based. So this talk series is all about kind of giving you guys actionable advice and to help you prepare for the high mountains. Now, as I mentioned last week, and I want to really stress it again, I do have a degree in sports science, so I've studied the psychology and physiology of elite performance, but I'm not a qualified coach and I'm definitely not a qualified nutritionist. Okay, we're going to be talking about nutrition a lot, so just take it as my advice to you rather than exactly what you should be doing. And next week we're going to be talking about mindset, and I am definitely not a psychologist, okay? Or a psychotherapist or anything like that. So that is the important thing. But yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. So just to kind of talk about this session, last week we talked about training intensity, okay? We talked about energy systems, and that basically at high altitude you can only really work in your aerobic system, so it's most important to train that system, to adapt that system so you become more efficient, really important. We also talked about strength training, the benefits of a coach, and also how you should structure your training for endurance and for the high mountains. This week we're talking about fueling, okay? If you want your body to be able to do a high volume of training, you need to fuel it properly. You also need to be able to recover. So important. We're going to talk about recovery. We're going to talk about resilience, so kind of physical resilience on expedition. It's a very testing environment where you're losing a lot of weight, your body's coming under a lot of pressure, so how you stay strong there. And then we're going to have a Q&A at the end. Okay, again, like last week, guys, I want you to try and understand the material as we go through it. So at the end, we'll have a general Q&A specific to you, but if you find you're not understanding any of the material as we move through it, please put your hand up and we'll answer your question, okay? Because I've actually never presented this before, so it might seem like it's making sense to you and be absolutely, to me, and double Dutch to you guys. So do stop me if you have a question. Okay, so just to kind of frame this session, all right, recovery matters as much as your training. And that is something I really want to stress to you guys and to really hit home, that you don't get fitter in training, you get fitter in recovery. So when you train, when you do physical activity like a long run or a long hike, you create a training stress and your body has to adapt to that. But it's actually when you're recovering and resting that you bed in that growth. Okay? Very, very important. So, talking about fueling, guys, we're going to keep it really simple. I want you guys to imagine when you eat food that you fill up a big jug of water. Okay? You fill up a big jug. And then your body, it uses that jug of water to fill 5 cups. Okay, the first one is training and performance. Then we've got recovery and adaptation, immune function, health and vital functions, and then extras like skin, hair, nails, and libido. Okay, that's what it does. And hang on. When you eat enough and you eat well, all the cups get filled and your body can adapt and it can grow and it can do everything it needs to do. All right? And that's when your training works and your body adapts. All right? Now, when you undereat, your body prioritizes survival. So it makes sure your immune function is really good and your health and vital functions are all fine, but it doesn't resource those other things that it needs to do. So your training, you're not going to be able to train and perform as well. Your recovery is going to be much slower, and things like your skin, your hair, your nails, your libido will be less. So I'm sure some of you guys have noticed this. When you feel run down, you might get a mouth ulcer or something like that. That can come from the fact that you're underfueled. Okay, so can anybody here go out and do a long hike for over 3 hours without food? Anybody? You can. Okay, Joe, tell me about that.
I've done it loads of times.
Okay.
I remember I was telling you, I was kind of trying to teach myself about high altitude and being out
Yeah.
in high altitude, being in mountains without food.
Okay.
So a lot of the times, like you say, when you get to a certain height, you just don't feel like eating anything.
Yeah.
So I've been on the Wicklow Way, or the Dublin Way, I think they call it, from Tala to Shankill. It's
Yeah.
about 7 kilometres.
Yeah.
I've done that without food.
No food. So you're out for how many hours? 7 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys,
No problem.
Joe, I have also done this kind of thing. And a lot of endurance athletes have done this kind of thing as well. So basically, you've gone out and done a 7-hour training session with no food, okay? Like, the positives...
Would be all like
Water, okay, yeah, fair enough, that's fine. Technically not food, Joe, but no, I'm joking. I'm messing. No, but the positive in that is that you are, what that's telling you is you have a very well-developed zone 1 and zone 2, okay? Anybody cannot do that, go out for a long period of time without food. Anybody? So if you couldn't do that, guys, it might be a sign. Okay, 7 hours is a bit extreme. Joe, you're a very good endurance athlete, okay? But what I would say, what I'd like you to do is maybe not do the 7-hour, but do a 3 or 4 hour hike next weekend without food. And just take note of how you feel on the hike from a performance perspective, how energized you feel, how your recovery goes, and how you sleep the next night, okay? And then do it again properly fueled and see if you notice a difference. Okay. Because what your body will do there, if your body's smart, okay? Now I'm maybe oversimplifying these, but I like to keep things simple. When you go out and you start hiking, Joe, for 3 or 4 hours in, your body's like, he's not putting any food in the tank. So it is not doing, it's not going to do any of the extra stuff that it doesn't need to do because it's concerned that you're not going to put food in the tank. Does that make sense? So your body will only, if it thinks it's not going to get enough fuel, it will cut back, it'll start telling you you're tired and things like that. So just because you have the capacity to do something doesn't mean you should do it. All right? Okay. Is anybody familiar with the restrict binge cycle? Okay? Hands up who eats like a saint all week and then goes wild at the weekend. Don't be shy, guys. I won't single you out like, yeah, we all done this. Yeah, very good. Do you want to tell us about your experience of that? No?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do exactly what you're saying there. Right? Fruit and vegetables and all week.
Yeah.
And weekend, pizza and beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's two ways it's kind of occurred for me. Is in like maybe I go for pints or at the weekend and I feel really bad and I'm like, right, come Monday, we're cutting out everything, and it's like this strict diet. Or what happens then is that because you're not giving yourself enough calories during the week, your body craves food at the weekend. So it's actually, it's not like a decision. Your body's actually wanting these high calorie, high sugar foods, stuff like that. So it wants the chocolate and the pizza and all that beer and all that kind of stuff. So the thing to remember is your body always wins, and under-fueling leads to injuries, poor and slower recovery. And as you guys are seeing from the training plan, regardless of your level, the key with this is doing a fairly good volume of training, okay, relevant to your goal. But if you want to do that, you need to be able to recover quickly and fuel the exercise properly. So there we go. Key is fueling consistency. Okay, fasted training, guys. This is a hot topic with mountain athletes. It has been with cyclists, any kind of ultra endurance. All right. Has anybody heard of this? It's basically, have you guys heard of this type of training, fasted training? Yeah? No? Okay. So basically, it's where you go out and do what Joe did, all right? Do lots of training in a deliberate way without fueling first. And the idea is that your body doesn't have any carbs to fuel off, so it's forced to fuel off fat, okay? It doesn't have anything else to use, and that develops your fat-burning engine, basically, your aerobic system. Or the other way you can do it is you can have a low or no carbohydrate diet. So you're just eating like basically fats and protein, okay? I have tried both of these things in my time, okay? I won't single you out, Joe. I'm actually terrible, And the thing with them is that they can, for me, the placebo effect of these can be really strong. But actually the key, guys, is doing lots of, as I told you guys last week, the key is doing lots of high volume of slow training, and you'll become more efficient in that zone. When you go out and you don't fuel your exercise properly, you have a much higher chance of getting injured, of breaking down from a kind of a immune system, like general thing, and then your recovery is going to be much slower. You're going to feel really fatigued after training, and you're not going to produce as much power, basically, as you're exercising. Okay, so I would strongly encourage you guys to avoid that. There'll be a million people online tell you it's the best thing ever, okay? But yeah. So we're going to keep it real simple. Your diet, guys, around the training that you need to do for your expedition is super important. On a basic level, okay, carbs are what you need for fuel, so around pre and during exercise, and then proteins are for repair. Okay, like I know you've probably heard this 100 times. Your parents are probably telling you when you were a kid, get your greens. Very, very important. You need to eat the rainbow. You need to have really colorful food, and make sure you fuel your training and recovery. So if you're going to have big days, you need to eat more. And if you have a rest day where you're recovering, I know for me, my body still wants plenty of food on those days as well. Okay. And then for protein, the science says that you should have 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So for example, if you weigh 100 kilos, you should be getting 200 grams of protein in your diet every day. Okay? Now, most of us, myself included, don't like to count the macros and what you're eating that much. So what I just advise you to do is to have protein in every meal that you're eating. Okay? And just to give you guys an idea of what that looks like for me, this is typically what I'll eat in a day. Okay, so for breakfast, I'm having muesli, milk, low-fat Greek yogurt, banana, blueberries, seeds, walnuts, flaxseed. That's about 650 calories, 30 grams of protein. Kind of gets me going. I have that first thing in the morning. Okay, I eat a lot of food, just to say. Then I'll have a snack around kind of 11, maybe 10 even, sometimes if I'm hungry. Apple, orange, bread, hummus, some more protein. Keep eating, constantly have food in the tank coming in. And then lunch, I go a little bit mad. I don't actually have bacon in mind, but it was on the image, but I go for 4 slices of bread, hummus, 4 eggs, and then I generally kind of make a salad with lots of greens in it, and I have half of that for my lunch and half in the evening. That's about 1,000 calories, more protein, just kind of constantly coming into my body. And then for not every day I'm having this, but I might have like a yogurt and an energy bar. And then for dinner, I might have a steak, 2 baked potatoes, more salad, and that's giving me more protein in the evening, okay? So you can get this, if you have different dietary requirements, you can get this in different ways. And obviously then, guys, if I'm training as well, on top of that, for longer sessions, like anything over an hour and a half, I'm having electrolytes in my drink. And then for longer workouts, again, I'll be eating on the workout. Okay, so if I'm going out doing something easy for an hour, I don't. But if it's going to be several hours, I'll eat during training as well. Okay, and then again, once you finish, that you try and plan to have food within 30 to 60 minutes after you finish. Okay, and that's giving me about 190. I'm 90 kilos, so it's more than enough protein there for me. Okay, any questions on any of that so far? Yeah.
Are there sex differences there between men and women?
And the amount of protein that you need to take in?
In all of it, all the kind of basic nutrition or recovery, the amount you're fueling, the macros, the timing, the fasted training, all that kind of stuff.
Probably the easy answer is there, I don't know, you know. I think from definitely around your menstrual cycle at certain times, you'll need to plan for not performing as you would normally, but I think that's different for every single woman. But in regard to nutrition specifically, I don't know, to be honest. Yeah. I suppose in the broad sense it would be the same, but maybe there are little tweaks here and there.
Fasted training is not recommended for women.
Fasted training?
No.
I don't think
I
it's...
do it all the time, but it's not recommended.
Okay.
It interferes with hormones massively.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not.
I don't know if fasted training is recommended for anyone, is it?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But more so for women, like it should be avoided.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Cool. Okay, any questions on that so far? Yes?
How does that kind of, your daily fueling, like your ideal version for training, vary once you go into kind of your activity phase, whether it's your kind of 30-day trek or your...
Like on an expedition?
On an expedition.
Oh yeah, we're
maintain it, or
it's coming. I'll answer that with the slides. But good question. I'm going in the right direction. Woo. Okay, what are we talking about here? Yeah, supplements, guys. I have my supplements here. If you want to have a look at them. This is personal. It's not universal. Again, with supplements, remember it's $1 billion industry. But I have like a 20-hour training week at the moment. So my body is constantly fighting fatigue. And like that diet I showed you there, whether you like it or not, that's that's my Monday to Thursday. You know, sometimes I'm busy, I'm not eating that well. So I kind of want to stay ahead of like getting sick and running into issues. So I take a multivitamin, an iron supplement, and then I take a magnesium glycinate and a CBD oil to support my sleep, okay? And there's actually a great Irish company called Hemp Heroes that makes CBD oil, and they've organized a discount code for us, so I'll send that to you guys tomorrow via email. But yeah, I think for me, like if you're doing a high volume of training, like to supplement your diet with certain things for me is important. I take a fish oil, and I also take creatine as well. Most days when I can remember to take it, okay? So this is a big one, guys, your sleep. Sleep is really where the magic happens. It's so important. I cannot stress this enough. For any aspect of life, particularly training, you need to sleep very well. Everybody's different, but ideally you want to have 7 to 8 hours of sleep, okay? If you can get more than that, absolutely magic. What I would say is a lot of us are wearing these smart watches now, guys, so when you wake up in the morning, it gives you a report how you were doing, like how much deep sleep you had and how much REM sleep. And like, you really can't control that, you know? You shouldn't be getting up in the morning going, feck, should have got more REM. It's not good, no? So what you need to focus on is what you can control. So sleep hygiene, really, consistent bed and wake times. That's something that you can control. Like, we're all going to go wild every now and then. It's in our nature, but you know, you want to try and be going to bed and getting back up at the same time, roughly every day. It makes a big difference. You want to have a dark, cool, quiet room. I just recently got blackout blinds, and they're a game changer. I'd recommend them if you don't have them. Guys, I'm not telling you anything revolutionary here, but it is the basics, like limit caffeine, alcohol, heavy meals late in the evening. Your wind down routine without screens, that's so important. You're reaching for the phone, it's got so much stimulation and dopamine, it's just really kind of starting you up when you need to be winding down. About 3 or 4 years ago, I stopped bringing my phone into my room, made a big difference. Sleep much better. Supplements, I'm talking about CBD oil here and magnesium. I think test them if you need them, you know. And one thing I would say about those is, you know, you hear people using, actually, I'll tell a lie. I did this myself, right? I started taking melatonin, CBD oil, and magnesium at the same time. And I started sleeping really good. But I didn't know which one of them was working, you know? So test them in a kind of deliberate way. So there you go. This is something I've started doing recently. If you get 5 to 10 minutes of natural light in the morning, where you're kind of, now make sure you look where you're going, but look up at the light. You don't need to look directly into the sun. And it's basically your body is, you're kicking your circadian rhythm in. So it's your internal kind of 24-hour body clock that manages when you should feel awake, when you should feel tired, when you should feel hungry. And basically, it's been proven if you get natural light, about 14 to 16 hours later, your body will naturally start releasing melatonin. So if you're going straight into a screen or into an office, your body is confused. It doesn't know it's time to wake up and get going, you know? Okay. And then for me, I've found, I'm sure lots of you will do this as well, but like when you wake up in the middle of the night, if you need to go for a pee or whatever, your mind starts racing about whatever you're stressing about at the moment. I find focusing my breath helps a lot. Just really like nasal breathing and just really trying to think about nothing else. If that doesn't work for me, I'll get my Kindle out. So reading that with the light off, it's quite a dark screen. It's an electronic book if you don't know what that is. That really helps. And then journaling. Now guys, I'm not saying you would journal in the middle of the night, okay? But what I've found is I would write, I have this great book, it's called the Morning Journal. It gives you prompts. You're not just sitting there looking at a blank page. But I'm kind of writing about like how I'm sleeping, how I'm feeling about different things. And I've noticed I can correlate kind of different things I'm stressing out about with my sleep. So you can kind of really monitor that as opposed to kind of going to bed one night and then you get a terrible sleep and you're wondering why that was. There's generally a reason, okay? So that would just be a few tips for me on that one. Recovery. All right, we talked about the amount of training that we need to do last week. So on top of my training, I would probably spend about 2 to 3 hours a week doing different kind of recovery routines. So generally, I'm doing that kind of Monday to Friday in the morning, and then like any other normal human, it kind of goes out the window at the weekend. Okay, so a good rehab routine is important. So you're basically addressing any injuries or weaknesses you have in your body. So for me at the moment, I have a problem with my left rotary cuff. I can't really press at all with that one. And then I also have nerve pain in my left foot. It makes it really sore for me to run or walk for extended periods of time. I've had that one for about a year. So I have these little exercises that I need to do with those all the time, trying to get them going. For some of these young fellas in their early 20s, you won't know what I'm talking about, but the rest of us, it's a constant thing. So you just kind of keep on top of that. And then I would do like either yoga or foam rolling, swap between the two for about 20 minutes, half an hour every morning. And then go for a massage every 4 to 5 weeks. And yeah, if you want to do a high volume of training, this is all super, super important. Okay, you need to be looking after yourself, focus on your sleep, and just making sure that your body can take the volume of training that you want to do. Okay? Any questions on that, guys? Awesome. Cool. So, getting back to that kind of theme, started off there, the training makes you weaker and recovery makes you fitter. Okay, so I recently changed as coaches about 7 weeks ago, and I've gone from a situation where my coach gave me a 7-day training plan and told me to take rest days as I needed, so I never took them, to now having 2 rest days a week. Okay, well I have 1 day completely off, and then tomorrow, Wednesday, I'll train for about an hour, very easy. So literally like just spinning my legs on the bike or going for a walk in the park with a friend or something. But I'm still doing the same training volume. So on the other 5 days, I'm training harder, and I feel much stronger on the days that I'm training. I'm really benefiting from the rest. So I think that's most relevant depending on your personality type, but I'm sure half of you in the room absolutely love flogging yourselves and killing yourselves out there, but I can't stress how amazing, what a game changer proper rest is. So definitely want to make that point. Stress, guys, big one. So life stress is training stress. So if you are traveling a lot, if you're working a lot, if you are having late nights out, if you're having relationship issues, whatever that might be, you need to take extra rest days, okay? Do not go with the approach of basically, if you have a big night out in the town and you're like dying the next day, you're gonna train super hard to punish yourself for being bad. Don't do that, okay? You need to take extra rest, okay? Because it absolutely is so important. I've had this experience myself, like where I've gone down that route and you just end up being injured. So, and I would say, again, I'm not like a psychologist or a psychotherapist, but your trauma and your stress, you can't just push it down and make it go away. If you try and do that, it'll just stay with you for longer and longer. So try and deal with your issues, however may you want to do that. But it will have a huge impact on your training if you're going around stressed all the time. Try, if possible, surround yourself with positive, good people. You know, it'll really help. Okay, so getting on to your question over there, illness risk at altitude. So at altitude, recovery is much, much harder. Your body's under much, much more stress, okay? So if we think about it, I'm gonna use Everest Base Camp. Anybody been to Everest Base Camp before? Some of you guys have. Okay, very good. So basically, we trek into about 5,500 meters over it's a total of 13 days. But once you go over 3,500 meters, there's no way to properly refrigerate food. So there's no meat. You obviously can't get fresh salad and things like that up there. So the food becomes quite gray. I should get me on the Earth's Edge sales team, really, shouldn't we? But it gets a bit bland, okay? So that the quality of the food you're getting reduces compared to what you might have at home. And then the quantity of food you're getting is also reduced. So we'll try and give you as much as you can, but as we talked on, your digestive system isn't working, you want to eat less. Your hygiene, you're not showering and washing every day like you would here. That goes down. You're sleeping less due to the altitude. Your rest is reduced. So if we talk about needing rest and needing good nutrition, we're taking those away, and then we're reducing the oxygen, guys. And it doesn't need a doctor to tell you. If someone arrives into hospital and they're super sick and you don't know what's wrong with them, you put them on oxygen. It's like life. So we're taking everything away from you. So it's much, much more difficult. So the risk of a respiratory infection, gastrointestinal infection, and fatigue all increase. So what happens with the respiratory infection is at altitude, the air is much drier and colder. So when you're breathing that in and out as well as dust, it's very easy to get an infection in your upper respiratory area. So you got to deal with that. You got to wear the buff all the time. And then in gastro, like you're just not washing as much. So that's really, really important that you guys are on top of your hand washing. So where there's water and soap available, you're washing your hands thoroughly, and then you're topping that up with a hand sanitizer as well. Okay, really, really important. And the other thing to stress with you guys from last week, we talked about having a really well-developed zone 1, zone 2. So your aerobic system or your aerobic engine, a big aerobic engine is key. Because when you think about the 5 cups concept that I showed you guys, if you have a big aerobic engine, so let's just talk about it. We're talking about moving slow. So if you come trekking with me or a qualified guide or whatever, they're going to control the pace. So you're going to be moving slowly all the time. But if that pace is causing you to go into zone 3, your anaerobic system, your body is going to take it a long time to recover from that. So if you have a big aerobic base, if you have a well-developed zone 1, zone 2, by the time you get to the tea house at the end of the day, you're not even tired. Okay, you haven't come out of first and second gear, you're feeling good, and your body can focus on acclimatizing and making sure that it's all good to go for the next day. Yeah. Any questions on
The Everest Base Camp, what would be a good guide here in Ireland for what you're going to go through? So,
what would you like to be a good?
Say by 4 weeks before you go, what should you be comfortable walking?
Yeah.
In 3 or 4 days or 5 days, should you do kind
No,
of
so
5-day trek to get?
No, if you can do like if you're hiking consistently like throughout the year, and then you get it up to a point where you can do 2 long days in a row, so 5 to 6 hours, really.
What kind of 15 to 20k?
Yeah, just whatever your zone 1, zone 2 is.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about the distance. Just be out timing your feet 2 days in a row. You'll be fine for Everest Base Camp.
And that should
Yeah,
cover you.
yeah. Because people try to get super fit, but what they actually do is they start moving into zone 3, and they develop that anaerobic energy system. You can't use that at altitude, really.
I got all that, but I
Yeah.
want to get a kind of idea.
Yeah, so even for something like Everest Base Camp, like 5 to 6 hour days in a row would be,
Sticking in that zone 2.
Yeah.
100 beats per minute. Kind of.
yeah, or even zone 1, zone 2 on a hike like that. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit last week, guys. So just kind of go into that. So at altitude, you're going to run into a massive calorie deficit. Okay. So why is that? So your body is busy with the acclimatization process. It's putting a lot of like energy into your heart and lungs. There's less oxygen in your blood, so it's got to pump a lot more blood around, and it deprioritizes your digestive system. Okay, so you don't feel like eating. On top of that, you might feel nauseous or have you got a headache? The food, geez, I'm giving the food a hard time, but maybe you're not loving the food, so you just don't feel like eating. So even with calorie-rich food, you can go into a deficit of 2,000 to 6,000 calories a day. Okay? It's a lot. It's a huge amount. And again, a big aerobic base where your aerobic system is you're predominantly burning off fats is key at altitude. Okay? Now, this is something that we touched a little bit on last week, but I want to explain it to you in a little bit more detail now. So when you undereat at sea level, a different thing happens to when you undereat at altitude. Okay? So when you're in a calorie deficit at sea level, generally your aerobic system will burn more fat. Okay? But at high altitude, there's not as enough oxygen in the air, so your aerobic system is not as efficient at breaking down fat. Yeah, exactly. So it likes to break down food. It likes to have food in the tank. It's easier. It's less intensive. It takes less oxygen to burn food into energy than it does your body fat. Okay? So when you don't have enough food on board, and it's struggling to break down your fat because there's not enough oxygen, it starts breaking down your muscle. Okay? So, for example, on something like Kilimanjaro, even if you were eating well, you could expect to lose 1 kilo. Everest Base Camp, maybe 2. Aconcagua, 4. Burundi, 5. And then something like Everest, 12 kg. Some of that. So on Burundi this spring, I lost 12 kilos in 25 days. And I was eating as much as I could. Okay? And the goal, guys, is really at altitude to limit the damage. Now, I'm talking about, that's an extreme case. So if you're doing Kilimanjaro, Base Camp, Tupgal, it's going to happen. You're not going to come back emaciated. All right? But you have to accept that you are going to deteriorate a little bit physically at altitude, but you're trying to limit the damage. So you're trying to eat as much as you can. Okay? Now, people, a lot of you have obviously tried to use in your expedition for weight loss. Okay, I would not recommend you do that. Okay, and I know this from experience, I've seen it with clients and from myself over the years. We used to call it skinny fat back in the day. So you come back having lost weight, but you still seem to have all this body fat on you, you know? So what happens is when you lose a lot of muscle mass on an expedition, joking aside, you come back and you're very, very fatigued. You're absolutely exhausted for several weeks after you come back. So you're obviously very, very hungry because you've basically been starving yourself, but you're not in a capacity to do any exercise or lift weights. So you put the weight back on, you come back to your original weight, but your body composition will be different. You'll have a higher fat mass and lower muscle mass compared to when you went away.
Is the opposite true? Like, people try and put on that kilo to lose it, or
I would definitely. I don't get like mad lean anyway, but I would definitely I eat plenty before I go away. Yeah, cake and everything. Yeah, I eat cake most days anyway, but extra cake. Does that make sense, guys? About the muscle loss? Yes.
I mean, do you have a regimen for weight gain before you go? You talked about training.
Yeah.
Is there a similar kind of regime
for weight gain? Yeah, I don't have I can only speak from personal experience there. Like, I would generally try and put on muscle and be bigger like before I go away. Because it's a hard thing to do. Like, depending on your physiology, I find it pretty easy to put on weight. I wouldn't go too crazy with it because obviously the heavier you are, the more work your body has to do to get you up there. I think what I would say is, like, put on a bit of condition, and then as we're going to touch on, kind of tips and tricks to how to keep the weight on you when you're there is important. It also depends on your goal. Just to stress this, guys, maybe I'm just throwing this up here to kind of, not to scare you, but I mean, how relevant is the Everest example, or me saying I'm losing 12 kilos on Makalu? Like, it's, you're not going to lose that much. But I think, especially, like, I'm 43 now, to put on weight at my age or older, it's really hard. So to put on muscle mass at that age, like, or if you're older than me, so you try and want to protect that you can keep training when you come back, So in short answer, I put on a bit, maybe 2 or 3% of your body weight go up, Okay, so this is typically what I'm eating on expedition. So in the tea houses, you're going to have a big bowl of porridge with honey, 2 pieces of toast, 2 boiled eggs. It's about 700 calories and a fair bit of protein through the eggs. Then in the morning, I might have 3 energy bars, a little bit more calories. This is as you're hiking. Keeping the calories into you all the time. Try and keep eating all the time. Lunch then, it won't look exactly like this, but it'll actually look better, in my opinion, in the tea houses. So veggie fried rice or veggie fried noodles is a real common thing to eat in Nepal. It's awesome. About another 600 calories. Again, like, easy to digest. And then more snacks that could be energy bars or nuts, whatever you can get into. I'm going to go into snacks a little bit more detail in a second. Try and get the protein into if you can, but it's more important calories, as opposed to protein. And then dinner is the classic of a bit of soup, popcorn, and dal bhat. Okay, so that's basically lentils, rice, and a curry. It's really good, easy to eat, and lots of carbs. So again, on the trail, guys, at altitude, I'd be taking electrolytes in my drink all the time. Okay, depending on the type of trek you're doing, whether you're having to carry everything, you might have a slightly different nutritional or hydration plan. But drink as much as you can. But you get dehydrated so much quicker at altitude, so you want to drink as regularly as you can, and try and have electrolytes or even carbohydrates in your water as well, if you can. And carry small snacks kind of in your front pocket so you can be constantly grazing on food as you go. Okay, so if you look at this, it's a similar amount of calories, a lot less protein. Okay, it's hard to get protein at altitude, but my energy demands have gone up a lot. Okay, so you're exercising more, you're trekking pretty much maybe over a 7-day a week. Maybe you have 1 or 2 rest days on that, depending on your itinerary. But you have to think that you could be going for maybe 6 hours each of those days, and then on top of that, like round the clock, your body's at a much higher elevation. So your heart and lungs are working so much harder. So that's why your calorific need is so high. Okay? Any questions on that?
Can I just ask, when you're on the higher camps,
Yep.
do you use the expedition packs or do they cook food for you?
I use the expedition food. So this is for bigger mountains like 8,000 meter peak or 7,000 meter peak. I use a mix. The variety is key. So some like kind of expedition food like army rations, some noodles, some packet rice, biscuits, anything really. Depending on how high the camp is, it just gets super tough. Yeah. But a good mix is key. The thing with altitude, we'll talk about snacks in a second, is you can have a situation where you're sure you're going to like something here. Maybe you buy some expedition food here in the shop and you like it, you bring it out to altitude, you don't like it anymore. Your body is super finicky at altitude. And what you liked on the last expedition, you might necessarily like on the next one. So good variety is key. Yep. Yes, sir.
So it's more of a comment than a question. I mean, I see that you have an emphasis on the salt. I remember on Kilimanjaro, you were saying that, okay, we try and put salt, concentrated salt in every meal. So, like, how important is, sort of, how something an issue is the likes of salt deficiency at altitude?
Yeah, it depends on the person, really, I think. So we all have a different sweat rate. So we all, and it's not necessarily to do with your fitness, like how much volume of sweat you produce, and then how much sodium or salt is in that also depends. But at altitude, it's going to increase quite a lot. But generally, everybody needs a lot more salt. So you need to replace the salts you're using and drink a lot of water as well. Yeah. Question over here?
Obviously, if you're on a long trek, you're limiting your weight. Do you bring all of your supplements, or do you limit yourself to just one pour and introduce them?
We're gonna talk about that. But yeah, definitely bring your supplements. All of them, yeah, for sure, definitely. Yes.
I never lose my appetite at altitude. Like
gained
weight on Kilimanjaro and it's the food.
Yeah.
So like, I don't expect to lose my appetite again. Do you need to really stuff those snacks in on the train if you've had like a huge breakfast, a huge lunch, a huge dinner?
Yeah, so I think my natural answer to that would be, no, sure, maybe you'd be fine, But when you think about it, you're going to break down muscle if you don't eat enough food. So if you go into a calorie deficit at altitude, you're going to break down muscle. You feel it like when you're wearing your pants, like they're looser after like a 16-day trip. Let's say something, you're going to Aconcagua in different gravy, like. It's different to Kili and Machu Picchu. So you'll notice your pants are like on your waist are looser, but also your whatever arse you had starting off is gone, you just become much, you lose muscle. So what I would say to you is like, try and eat as much as you can. I know it's counterintuitive, like it's easy to get into that trap of like, oh, I'm going to be so lean or whatever when you come back, but it's a total false economy, to be honest, because you lose the muscle. Yeah.
Do you recommend taking a protein powder for long treks?
Protein powder, yeah. So I do take for 8,000 meter peaks, I'd take a muscle gainer. So it's like a weight, it's a protein, but it's got a lot of calories in for these bodybuilders and stuff. Now I can do that because you get a big weight allowance for an 8,000 meter peak and you're staying at base camp. So if you're doing a true trek, like something like Everest Base Camp, it's not that practical to bring. Yeah, but you still on Mira Peak, you're trekking most of the time, and then you're only one day at the high camp. You can bring it if you get it into your, if you can get it underneath your weight allowance. But I would definitely go for a high calorie gainer, But the thing is that like you're better off focusing on get some protein in your diet. But the main thing is you want to stop the calorie deficit. So you can have like enough protein, like your recommended daily allowance, we say 2 grams per kilo of body weight. If you don't have enough calories on board, it doesn't make a difference because your body will, like, it'll just eat itself, eat the muscle as well. Yeah. So if it's practical to do so, yes. Yeah.
Consume when you're up there, when you're just resting, maybe close, maybe say for a summer push and stuff.
On which kind of how big a mountain?
Say if you're going for 7,000 meters.
Yeah, 7,000 or like, the thing is that camp on a 7,000 meter peak, let's say your high camp is 6,400 meters, you tend to kind of go there once and then you're going for a summit. But like for that lady there on her summit push on Aconcagua or your summit push on a 7,000 meter peak, you can expect to lose 1 kilo or 2 of body weight. It's just the reality of it. It's all kind of trying to limit the damage. So this is where your snackage comes in handy, okay? Now, the simple answer is you just have to eat. So you're talking about a camp, let's say at 6,500 meters or 7,000 meters or on your summit day. You just have to eat as much as you can, and variety is the key. Because these things on the left here, where the cliff bars, I took those on an expedition to Kyrgyzstan to a 7,000 meter peak there in, I think, 2015. I was like, these are great now, they're going to be healthy and they're really good for you and blah, blah, blah. And I brought about 50 of them. And about 8 bars into it, I couldn't even look at them anymore. You'll go off stuff really quickly. So it's having a variety. 2 things I'll show you here, actually. This stuff, like this is just a gel, but this resealable pack here, where you can close it again, is super handy at altitude. The ones that you have to rip, they're kind of annoying, I find. I'll send you guys on a discount code for this stuff, Precision Hydration, and it'll be up here in the front. You can have a look at it. And then this one, this Tailwind, have you guys ever come across that? That's a rehydration salt with sugar in it. So you were talking about a protein. You know when you have a whey protein, it's kind of like gloopy. This stuff is like it feels like you're drinking Diorolite, okay? It feels like a rehydration salt, but there's 200 calories in that. So I can mix this to kind of 2 to 3 to a liter. So you're kind of getting in, maybe 1,000 calories without even noticing through this, okay? So in those real high altitude camps, like if you're talking about preparing for a 7,000 meter peak, I respect a lot of you aren't, but if you're up there 6,500 meters, like it's so difficult to eat, so I would just try your best to try and get calories here as best you can. But the variety is the key. So to your question over there, your immune support and wellness. So your body is basically eating itself, as we discussed. So continue taking your supplements on expedition. And then the other thing that I add into mine is this Revive Active. You guys ever come across that? A really cool Irish company. And it's basically more, like it's a super supplement with more it's almost like a multivitamin in powder form. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. We would probably tell you something slightly different. But again, you're trying to get in front of your, just try and avoid getting sick all the time. It's really key, Like I was only chatting to Matt, where is he? He's there. How are you? He was just back from the World Championships, and he's a trail runner. He's saying the majority of the team are all run down and sick after they got back. So you're just trying to get ahead of that to try and, like, the Revive Active I would probably take for Makalu, start taking it, 3 weeks or a month before I go, take it while I'm there, and then take it when I come back. I find it very, very good. Something that, for any of you guys doing a trip with Earth's Edge, it's probably not that relevant, but just to say, like, if you're planning a big 8,000 meter peak, or in some cases a 7,000 meter peak as well, if you can drop down to a lower elevation before your summit push, it is a game changer. So for example, people climbing Everest, they're coming back to base camp between their rotations. It's about 5,500 meters. If they can afford to fly down to Lukla at 2,800 meters, spend 3 or 4 days there and then fly back up, makes a huge, huge difference, okay? Because your body can actually recover. And returning home, guys. Recovery can take weeks or months, okay? It really depends on how much how hard you push yourself on expedition. So again, when you think about it, it's all coming back to this aerobic base. So if you're going for that 7,000 meter peak, if you have a massive aerobic base, a huge one, it's going to take a lot less than out of you if you have a narrow base. So the thing is that when you can, if you have to push into anaerobic or push yourself as close as you possibly can to the point of exhaustion, your recovery is going to take a lot longer. And you need to be kind to yourself when you come home. Again, no punishing yourself for being lazy after a few days. You need to do unstructured training. Just take it easy, go out, walk the dog, spend time with friends. Cycling is great, just spin the legs. And when you're ready, both mentally and physically, go back to structured training. Okay, so for me and Makalu, I got back, I think, on the 20th of May, and I didn't start training properly again till the 1st of July. Okay, so I was doing stuff, I was cycling and doing a little bit of hiking here and there, but I just couldn't physically or mentally do it before then. And then when I did get going, it took me, like the first run was horrible, you know, but you'll get back into it. Eat well, do easy sessions, rebuild your strength, and once you feel like you want to train again, it's time. Before that, I wouldn't, okay? So wrapping up, guys, fueling consistently is key for your training. Sleep and rest are training. You need to put focus on that, okay? I can't stress that enough. It's so important that you put a big emphasis on that. Manage your stress. And at altitude, it's all about limiting the damage. I think if you can kind of have a mindset that I want to come back and be able to train again and be in good condition, that will motivate you to eat well. Yep. And then just give you a little shout out about next week, part 3. We're going to be talking about mindset, consistency, how to be consistent, and mental resilience. Now, people ask me all the time, guys, how do you keep pushing through? And it's like really hard, and it's like you're on a mountain. Like, how did you keep going Makalu over 8,000 meters without oxygen? It must have been tough and all these things. And absolutely it is. And I'll be giving you guys tips next week about how to manage that, how to set yourself up for success there. But I think the more important thing is what you're doing the other 364 days of the year. Okay, how do you, if you don't enjoy training, how do you motivate yourself? What are little tricks you can play with your own brain to get you to do some training? And then again, if you're on the other end of it, where you love training and you train every hour of the day if you could, how do you know to pull back and do the right amount of training? Okay, those are the bigger things that we need to chat about. All right, thank you so much, and open the floor to questions.
The Irish brand of that gel that you said screw top, how many of those would you be going through? Say you had something like the base camp.
In base camp?
Half, more than half in the afternoon.
I wouldn't need these on. So this is the purpose of gels, right? Is that if you're moving at an intensity that you can't stop and eat food, you have a gel. So people use these when they're running really fast, or on a really hard summit day, I might use one of these. So on something like base camp, I wouldn't. No, I would bring like the bars chocolate that you like to bring, and bring a variety. You know, yeah.
It doesn't freeze.
Huh?
It doesn't freeze.
It doesn't freeze. No. Well, I generally have it on the inside of my jacket. Yeah. So put it in an internal pocket and it shouldn't freeze. Yeah. Yeah. Question.
The bars there, you were saying like Nutra bars, whatever like that. Do you bring all them with you from here, or do you buy them as you go up there? Or?
A mix. I bring some from Ireland, and then some chocolate you'd pick up in country as well. Yeah, or nuts, or there's a little shop in Tamil in Nepal where I buy loads of it's a local granola bar. Or in Argentina, we pick snacks up in base camp. It just totally depends. But you want to have a good mix of stuff, really. This gel I'd use on a summit push. Sorry, just to answer your question, where I basically, I might be wearing mitts where it's super cold, like on a 6,000-7,000 meter peak, and I can just get this out and unscrew it, maybe with a mitt on, and just put it in there when it's very, very quick. And the other thing with these guys is the gels particularly, and all your snacks, is to test them before you go away. For ultra endurance cycling and mountain sports now, a big focus is on the amount of nutrition you can take on. So how many grams of carbohydrates athletes are taking on it's a really hot topic at the moment, and they think that race times and that are going down because people are able to take on more and more carbs. But you need to test your gut to be able to take it. Okay, so it depends on your physiology. So I would keep in mind that when you're trekking to base camp, you're going to be moving at a fairly low intensity. You're going to be getting lots of solid food. This is for someone really doing a long 4 to 5 hour plus event where they don't have access to real food. Okay? Yeah. Question over here.
It's probably more relevant to next week, James, but I'd be into racehorses, even scientifically.
Okay.
And a racehorse will go to 97% capacity.
Okay.
A human goes to 73 or 74. The mind tells it it's not.
Okay.
So you have that reserve actually within you, although you think you're completely wasted.
Okay.
That's scientifically proven.
Fair enough. Thanks for sharing.
There you go.
Oh.
It's a great help just to think of that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you think there's nothing left.
Yeah.
But there is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think it is something to think about for sure for next week. Any other questions, guys? Yes?
For all of the session that you just covered there, so I'm not going to altitude, I'm going to Mont Blanc.
Yep.
So it's like 2.5 or something like that.
You're going to climb Mont Blanc?
Yeah, not the tower,
the Tour de Mont Blanc. Brilliant,
yeah.
Cool.
So would all of that nutrition advice still kind of count? Like I probably don't need as much snacks, I'm not going to lose as much weight, but it's a longer trip, it's like it's 2 weeks kind of. Yeah,
so I think, you're not going to run into huge issues with altitude, but I would advise you to have enough nutrition to balance it out. You know, you shouldn't be in a massive deficit just because you can be. And if you don't fuel properly, you will come back more fatigued than you need to be, you know. And again, from the first week, I would just focus on building on a really big aerobic base is the most important thing for that. And then that you are getting enough for it's quite a long trek, a lot of ascent, descent, that you're practicing going up and down steep ground, and then you're getting the strength work to support your muscles to do that as well. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Yes.
How do you know you're in a deficit?
How do you know?
Yeah, do you just go way over the calories and pump it out?
Yeah, see, at altitude, like, I mean, how do you know you're in a deficit? Good question. So you know what you normally burn at sea level, like you can figure that out. And then just at altitude, it increases massively. And then when you go to try and eat enough calories, you can't physically do it. You'll realize, like, I can't stress with you how good an eater I am at sea level. I can put away serious amounts of food, but up there, it's a different story. So it becomes quite obvious. You don't feel hungry, but you're losing weight rapidly. Yeah, it's a good question. It's a weird sensation, really, to be honest, because absolutely, yes. Your heart, that's a good way of looking at it. So your resting heart rate, like for me, at 6,500 meters, it would be double what it would be at sea level. And when you go to put on your shoe or, light the stove, it's spiking up into, well up into zone 2, So even with the smallest movements, or even at sleep, it's much higher. So you're burning way more. Yep.
How do you know when you're overtraining?
Overtraining. How do you know when you're overtraining? That's a good question. How do I know when I'm overtraining? How do you know when you're overtraining? For me, I start running into issues with my musculoskeletal system. So my right knee starts to really start crying at me. You'll start underperforming. You'll feel tired. You'll feel like you can't think properly. If you're using a heart rate monitor and you're using an app called Training Peaks, it'll give you a score for that. But it really depends. I wouldn't have the skill set to tell you that exactly. You kind of need a coach to know your individual profile to tell you that properly. But those would be some of the telltale signs. You'll start getting sick more, those kinds of things. Yeah.
Is the objective of the bar
calories or protein or carbs? Or
Yeah. So when you're on a trek, is it as well? Yeah. So what I would say to you is make sure you have something that you're going to eat that you really enjoy, because the thing is that the protein is important for muscle growth and recovery. Okay, but if you're hitting your protein amount on expedition, but you're in a calorie deficit, it doesn't make a difference. It makes a blind bit of difference, because your body is going to have to find the calories on itself, so it'll break down the muscles. So I would focus on the carbs rather than the protein. If you can get protein in, great, but it's not as important. Okay? Yeah.
Sorry, just talking about like having a coach and stuff like that. Would a coach implement this into, or is it specific to the coach, I imagine, but when you're looking for a coach, you're looking for a coach that specializes in stuff like this, or is it just general PT you're looking for?
No, so it's a good question. So what I'm talking about a coach is irrelevant to his question around his overtraining.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of coach should be an endurance coach or a high mountain coach, which we can send you on details of if you want. We shared it after last week's talk. But they would basically be looking at your heart rate data, getting feedback from you and how you're feeling, and then they'd be designing your plan around that. Like there's a good bit of different elements into it. Like, you know, some of them would be able to give you nutritional information as well, but really to manage your training and to make sure you're not doing that too much. And it's very easy to say, like, don't train too hard, but depending on your personality type, if you're like me, it's very difficult to not train too hard. Like even chatting to people here, chatting to this man, like people overtrain all the time. So a coach will kind of pull you back from that all the time. Yeah. Any other questions?
Do you use a coach yourself?
I do use a coach. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a game changer for me, definitely. I could not recommend it enough, to be honest. At any level, you know, they'll get you, because you can learning about training principles and implementing them are two different things. Yeah. Your question back there?
Yeah, kind of comes from last week, but also this week with the likes of having a rest day. Technical climbing, so training for rock climbing.
Yeah.
For that side of it, where would you recommend that fits in? Is that like extra to your strength training, your going for your runs, going for your hikes?
It would depend on what your specific goal is, you know. Do you have a goal, or are you just training rock climbing and you want to be fit as well, or?
Oh, well, kind of looking at that and go from.
Nice.
It's obviously going to have to practice the technical side of stuff as well. So
yeah.
Trying to figure out where that's going to slot in with everything else.
Yeah, I think like for something like Amon de Blam, like which is considered a technical peak, like I haven't climbed it, I'll tell you that. But there is fixed line. You are Jumaring all the way up the mountain, so for sure, like there is situations where you're going to be on very steep face, particularly on the Yellow Tower, and you're going to be abseiling down from summit a long time. So what I would say to you is that you need to be very comfortable with a lot of exposure, and very comfortable with your rope work, either using the ascender and then abseiling. But I would focus on your base training, your aerobic engine, because before you even get to Amon de Blam, you're going to be 15, 16 days at altitude. So I think for something like that, I would focus more on the endurance and then layer the climbing in. If you're not doing it already, hire someone to take you out and get you on that similar ground, either in Dalkey or somewhere like that, or go down to Clare and I'll get more exposure. Yeah.
Just in regards to say water.
Yeah.
Like you say about like a lot of talks based on calories and fuel and stuff like that. Obviously, hydration is just as important.
Yep.
When you're checking stuff, would you be throwing electrolytes into your drink that you're going through them as you go along the day, or do you just not like normal water go as you are, load up on electrolytes at the start of the day and stuff like that, which are?
Yeah. Generally I'd have electrolytes in most or all of my water, you know. And then if you're talking about on a 7,000 meter peak as opposed to Everest Base Camp, how you're managing water is slightly different, because when you're on a normal trek, we'll call it, there's access to water all the time, or you're not carrying all your own gear on your back, so you can maybe have a 3-litre bladder in your back and you can drink it as you want. When you're on a more kind of serious high mountain expedition, you need to be a little bit more aware of the amount of weight you're carrying. So let's say you have a 6-hour day, going from 5,500 meters to your high camp at 6,500. What you would do there, you're carrying 15 kilos. You don't want to be putting another 3 kilos of water on your back. So you might say to yourself, okay, I'm going to have a liter of water as soon as I wake up in the morning with electrolyte in it. Then I'm going to have some tea, and then I'm going to drink 1.5 liters on the hike. And then when I get to the destination, I am going to force myself to drink another 1.5 liters then. But I would generally have electrolyte in it all the time. Or tailwind. Yeah. Say again, sorry?
Plan the consumption of water.
Yeah. It kind of comes with experience and knowing how much you're going to sweat. But yeah, you kind of, and then you get comfortable with becoming a little bit dehydrated and then rehydrating afterwards. But it is a very testing environment. Like when you're camping 6.5, 7,500 meters, like all of this stuff is in your head to do it, but you can get into kind of a cabbage state where you find it hard to do anything, you just want to, you can be playing around with your food and water for ages and stuff like that. So you have to really force yourself. I think for me, like those big mountain expeditions, sometimes it's all about doing the right thing rather than what you want to do, and being really pushing yourself to do the most basic things like eating and drinking will make a huge difference. Yeah. Yes.
Quick thing on the types of water, I know you purify the water when you're going to wherever.
Yeah.
What way do you purify it? Is it boiled or?
It depends on where we are. So, for example, in Kilimanjaro, we use a Catadine silver filter. In Argentina, the water's good. In Nepal, we use Puri tablets. It depends, yeah. But we'll give you like.
So it's fresh water. You give kind of a big jug every day. You pour it into your bladders or your.
It really depends. Sometimes we take the bottles off you in the evening and we give them back to you in the morning. But if you're a finicky water drinker, I'd bring that little squidgy My Waddy thing with you.
Yeah.
If you're, if you're having Perrier all the time at home, you might. Sometimes it can be the little taste.
But if you're having good old Dublin tap water.
You'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah. But I would really recommend putting electrolyte or that product Tailwind for a high mountain trip is amazing.
You're going to send us that link for the types of electrolytes. Like I'd have no experience of electrolytes.
Yeah, so this stuff, Precision Hydration, he's the guy that's a rep in Ireland. He's organised a 15% discount. Tailwind, come up and have a snap at it. I don't have a deal on that for you guys. The CBD oil, I have that. I'm going to send you a link to that. But the rest of the stuff, you just have to yeah. But this one is great. I'm a big fan of this. It's really awesome.
Next week.
You have that for next week?
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah, it's great. Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
So thanks very much for listening. I hope that talk was of interest to you. If you do have any questions, as we've said, please leave them below. Let's extend this conversation. Let's extend this talk series. Because I think this is an opportunity for us to all learn something from each other's experiences. So as I said, if you have any questions, drop them in the Spotify comments, YouTube comments, send us an Instagram DM, send Jam a message directly if you feel like it. Next week, we're going to be posting next week, the talk is going to be about mindset, which is a really, really interesting one. So I will see you next week for that one. Thanks very much.